Hey guys, what's up? Ken Dolly here and welcome back to another episode of Cinderella Phenomenon. I don't remember where we left off, so let's just jump right into the last save. It's been a little while since I played this, so... Okay. We gave Parfait the medicines we purchased in town as soon as we arrived back at the Marken. Then, Rumple proudly announced that he is a doctor to anyone that will listen to him. Everyone seems happy for him, save for the Marken patrons that find Rumple annoying, who are mostly men. Afterwards, Rumple asked Anais if he might be able to take over the medications for Parfait, if only because Anais is busier than him. Rumple hasn't been at the Marken long, and yet he's already found something to help break his curse. And then there's me. I do not think anyone will be able to help me. At the end of the night, when I finally have time to myself, I return to my room to rest. The next day, I am sent right back to my chores. Rumple is nowhere to be seen in the morning, and Anais says it is because he is tending to Parfait. He appears later in the afternoon, still full of smiles and silly flattery, as he goes back to serving. How does he have so much energy? At the end of the day, I plop down on the settee to rest. My legs are weak from all the walking I have done today, and I can still feel the tiredness in my arms from all the sweeping with Mr. Broom. My best friend, Mr. Broom! Princess? I noticed Anais standing beneath the doorway, smiling at me uncertainly. Thank you for your work today. Why is she thanking me for work I obviously do not want to do? It's not as if I've asked to do any of this. But you still help. Anais nervously shifts on her feet. So, I just wanted to say thanks. When I do not make any effort to continue speaking with her, Anais gives a nervous little nod before heading back to her room. She's so mean. You're so mean, Kid Dolly. Oh my goodness. I am so mean. Not long after her departure, I hear an exuberant and familiar voice. I should count my lucky stars, for they are giving me a rare opportunity to meet my I should count my lucky stars, for they are giving me a rare opportunity to meet with my lovely princess this late at night. I should have gone to my room. Rumple stops before me, winking. The moonlight on your face makes your beautiful eyes sparkle like the most precious gold, princess. I'm not in the mood for your flattery. But princess, flattery is just a compliment. But princess, flattery is just a compilation of compliments. Everyone loves compliments. I do not care for your compliments. Or Lady Anais' thanks either. You heard that? You should learn to let people spoil you. I stare at him. That's the last thing I had ever expected anyone to say. My whole life I have been called spoiled and rotten, the Ice Princess. Even Delore and Parfait want me to do these good deeds because they think I'm incapable of goodness. Ugh. I clench my fist and continue to stare at him, not understanding the swell of emotion inside me. Why is he being so nice to me? Your first lesson is learning how to let people spoil you. He draws back his hand, reaching into his pocket, and presents me with a small yellow bag. What's this? For you, my sweet princess. It's not gonna let me accept it? There we go. I'm not used to receiving gifts out of the blue. What a shame. I would give you so many gifts if I could, princess. Why? Because people are moved by gifts when they come from the heart. I take the small bag from Rumple's hand and look at it for a few moments. Besides, this is both a thank you and an apology gift. A thank you for accepting me as your partner, and an apology for my behavior yesterday. I don't remember what I did, but both you and the boy seemed frightened. I look down at the little bag. I open it up. Inside is a little white chocolate piece fashioned into the shape of a flower. A lily. How cute! It's not much, but you absolutely must accept it, princess. Otherwise my guilt would drown me in dark shadows of sorrow for the rest of time. Lilies are my favorite flower. They say you give a white lily to someone you enjoy spending time with. Oh, and in floral language, they also stand for Purity and majesty. He winks at me. Perfect for you, princess. Why? Why what? Why would you give this to me? No matter what you say about doing nice things for people, I don't see how this applies to me. Why would you thank me for being your partner? I did not even want to be your partner at first. But you do now? I'm unable to withhold my surprise. Rumple raises an eyebrow, then sighs. Princess, you don't trust compliments, do you? Mother always told me that people were two-sided, that they'd say anything to make you believe they were your friend. No. Never fear, my sweet princess. I'll make sure I compliment you until you learn to accept them. But... no buts! I derive my happiness from making ladies like yourself happy. The compliments may seem strange to you, but don't worry, you'll see in time. See what? The connection between people. You assume I'm just a flirt, but I get to know an awful lot about people. It's the reason I can guess so much about you. What could Rumple possibly know about me? So, what do you think? Are you more attracted to me now because of my mysterious aura, or my doctorly sophistication? He leans closer to me, his eyes sparkling. I could be your own personal doctor. I will slap you if you touch me again. Rumple pulls back and raises both of his hands in surrender, but the smile does not leave his face. You really are hopeless, aren't you? Do you think so? I thought that the events from today might have proven otherwise. Oh, speaking of which, I read over my journal earlier. His expression becomes oddly solemn. Shall I enlighten you? Why would you tell me all of this? Oh, you're not interested? I thought you might be, since I was your partner. If I don't listen, you'll still tell me regardless, so feel free to share. Rumple sighs as he flips the journal open. Unfortunately, it was not much. The memory began coming together again as I was reading, but a lot of it still doesn't make sense. I glance down at the entry he has stopped at. Look at the bottom of the page, princess. I follow his gaze to the bottom of the page and pause, noticing a conspicuous gap. There's no signature, and I always sign the end of every entry I write. I wonder if that might be a final piece of the puzzle. The final piece of your curse? If my name refuses to show up in the book, it may very well be the final memory I need to regain. You believe that the signature will be what gives you your future, you believe that the signature will be what gives you your true name, then? I have a feeling that might be the case. It was the first thing I noticed when the entry appeared. That would explain why the boy in town didn't know my name either. And there's something else. Something else that's missing? The journal entry is cryptic at best, vague, almost like an incomplete puzzle piece. I stare at him, not understanding. Slowly, Rumple begins to explain. It says here that the boy's family rushed him to my clinic. He had a terminal illness that I could not cure. He was at death's door, and I couldn't save him. But he's still alive, isn't he? He even said you saved him. Yes, there is a resolution in the journal, but Yes, there's a resolution in the journal, but it is not very helpful. I glanced down at the journal entry as Rumple continued to speak. I refused to give up. I knew that there had to be a way to save the boy. I never gave up on my patients. In the journal entry, I described someone who came to help me save the boy. Ugh. He lifted the book and pointed to the words, reading them aloud. I met her for the first time tonight. She told me she had some way to help the boy, so we struck a deal. I hope I do not come to regret this. He snaps the journal shut, startling me. He sighs and runs a hand through his hair. That's it. Someone helped me somehow, and I made a deal. I'm assuming this is related to my curse, but I can't say how. Why did you write so vaguely? I wish I could ask my past self the same question. So in the end, you're still not sure when you were cursed? Rumple paused, then shakes his head. I believe it started here. Not the curse, but the events that led to it. There's a reason this is the first memory to be triggered. It's important. For a few moments, the two of us are quiet. Rumple's curse is a mystery. Not because he is hiding it like Karma is, but because he does not understand it himself. After a few moments, Rumple begins to laugh, breaking the silence. I look at him, startled. What's so funny? Oh, it's not funny. It's just... This is all very mysterious, isn't it? And my mysterious past makes me more alluring, doesn't it? Only Rumpel could take such a serious moment and change it into this. Well, what do you think, Princess? Are you drawn into the mystery of it? I have no choice. You tell me even if I didn't want to know. Oh, but you do! I can see the curiosity in your lovely golden eyes. And I could see it earlier today, too. Thank you for accompanying me to town. I believe that I only met this boy because you were there to help guide the way. You were looking for medical supplies. That boy appeared through more coincidence. No, it was more than coincidence. It was destiny. Fine, whatever you say. Listening to him is exhausting. It makes me realize how tired I am. And all of these revelations are making my head spin. I'm going to bed now. I'm too tired for this. It has indeed been a busy day. We will continue this enlightening discussion some other time. Perhaps. I turned to walk away with a little chocolate in my hand. As I walk back toward the darkness of the hallway, Rumpel's soft voice echoes behind me. Sweet dreams, my princess. Chapter 4: A Compliment's Value. You waited, but the children didn't come, did they? They promised they'd be back today. We even crossed pinkies. Promises are futile, dearest heart. But I have told you before, and I'll tell you again, people are selfish creatures. Selfish. There we go, selfish. They will always put their own well-being before others. No one does anything selflessly. To put your trust in someone is weakness, Kandali. Even those that make promises will only keep them if it benefits them. And you, my sweet, were obviously not beneficial to those children. So they didn't like playing with me? No, they did not. Jeez. Oh, come here, darling. You do not need those other children. The two of us can play together, as we always do. I can always trust you, Mother. Of course, my love. Oh man, what a sad past. My head feels foggy. Maybe it was because I took forever to fall asleep yesterday. And then, to make things worse, I ended up having that dream. Mother, you're the only one I can trust, right? I slowly slide out of my bed and make my way over to my dresser. The little bag is still where I left it last night. I open it up and let the little white chocolate lily fall into my hand. So cute. Is he really trying to help me? I remember his face yesterday and his bright smile as he presented this to me. I slowly ran my fingers across the delicate white petals. He couldn't have known lilies were my favorite flower. There's no reason to be sentimental about something like this. It's just silly. I'm about to put the flower back in the bag, but I stop, eyeing it once more. Slowly, I bring it to my lips and bite off a small petal. It is actually pretty good. I stuff the little flower back into the bag and make my way downstairs. The market is not busy this early in the morning, but everyone is starting on their chores. At least, I assume as much when I see Anais and then Waltz, who's helping her stack things. When I hear rising voices, and realize that not all is calm. Then I hear rising voices and realize that not all is calm. At least I don't have to pretend to be something I'm not. Oops. Wrong button. You say you're not pretending when you go around flirting with all the feeble patrons, day in and day out? You cannot seriously mean all of the drivel you spout. Carmel and Rumpel stand on opposite sides of the table, staring each other down. A teacup filled with what looks to be cool tea sits close to Carmel, abandoned. Flirting with ladies is not a crime. One day your flirting is going to get you into even more trouble than it already has. I've never had a lady that said I mistreated her, not once. I'm sure many could attest to being more than slightly annoyed. You're only jealous that I can speak to ladies without a disguise, aren't you? Carm slams his hand down on the table, shaking it. The tavern grows quiet. Waltz looks over, his eyebrows furrowed with worry. If you so much as make one more comment about my curse, then stop making comments about how I speak. The two continue to glare at each other. It almost looks as if Karma might circle the table and slap him, but the fight freezes as Jurian strides up to the two men. It's too early for the two of you to already be at each other's throats. But he started it. All I did was make a comment. He was the one that picked a fight. There you go again, twisting words. Jurian stomps on the ground. The two men once again turn to look at her. It's my job to break up the unnecessary fights, and I will do it. If you two must continue fighting, go do it somewhere else, like the forest where you can't disturb anyone. Both men turn away from each other, obviously agitated. Rumple's expression is cloudy as he makes his way over to the bar to begin helping set the tables. Jurian notices me watching. She waves at me with a terse smile on her face. Sorry I had to wake up to that, Princess. I shrug as I make my way over to Mr. Broom. My best friend, Mr. Broom! It's like waking up to two children arguing. Agreed wholeheartedly. Julian sighs before looking at me thoughtfully. Maybe you could have a word with Rumple later. I have no idea how their argument had even started, but maybe you can get to the bottom of it. I am not a babysitter, but I'd heard the two of you were partners. Anyway, hopefully this doesn't happen again. Good luck with your work today, Princess. Jurian walks off, vigilant as always. I notice Garian looking at her from the bar, a slight frown on his face. I start working around the tavern, starting first with the cleaning and then with the stacking. Delora makes snide remarks about my slowness as I work, and I try my best to ignore her while occasionally throwing her insults back at her. It is as if she has nothing better to do. The door to the tavern opens and Parfait steps inside with a bright smile. She looks more energetic than usual. I wonder if this is because of Rumple's medicine suggestions. Later, I manage to catch Rumple when the two of us are both on break. He looks pleased to see me until I mention Karma. Why were the two of you fighting earlier? What a sad day it is that the princess talks about another man to my face. Just answer me. I was getting ready for the events of today, as always, speaking to the lovely women who filter in and out of this place. When the beast appears from behind me. Even insults are dramatic. Your flirting is distracting me, he proclaimed. Oh, your flirting is annoying. But all I'm doing is complimenting women. I'm not impeding anyone's work. I thought that the only reason he was calling me out on such a thing was because he was actually jealous. You should have seen his scowl. And here we go. So I politely told him to mind his business, but he was relentless, and when he continued to insult my demeanor, well, I had to say something back, but I wasn't the one to start the fight. I swear they both really do sound like children. No doubt Karma would be blaming Rumple. Princess, you don't really think I'm so confrontational, do you? I think Karma's far more confrontational than Rumple, but it does not help that Rumple always snaps back at him. The two of you are both at fault. But Princess, in the end you were still having a childish argument. I think that Rumple might try to protest again, and I'm surprised when he shrugs his shoulders and sighs. Yes, it was childish, because that man is a child. I roll my eyes. Your irritated scowl chills my heart, Princess. I feel a tingle of excitement. I'm leaving now. There's really no point in having this conversation. It is a problem between Karma and Rumple. They're children. They can figure this out on their own. They need to get together and their name would be Carmel. Oh, that would be so great. Carmel. Oh, Princess, my heart, why must you depart so early? I ignore Rumple and leave him standing where he is as I return to my shift a little early. Honestly, I'd much rather focus on work than Rumple. He can be just as tiring, if not more. Though, after what happened last night, I do not think he's as terrible as I thought. The days go on, and Rumple and I speak only briefly during our breaks. Every day, I eat another piece of the lily, until only one is remaining. One afternoon, just before my break, Rumple approaches me with a mischievous smile on his face. My lovely princess, how are you today? What do you want? Your cold shoulders enticing. I have more tables to serve. Do not bother me. But, Princess, I've decided I know exactly how to teach you to be good. All of your other lessons have been useless so far. Please, just trust me. To put my trust in someone is weakness. I'm going to teach you how to flirt. What? The first step to flirting is eye contact, Princess. Wait, but why are you... Rumple points to my customer, a young man sitting right beside the window. The second is to smile. Smile, Princess, because I am sure you look even more stunning when you do. Then you start a conversation with him. Body language is important. There are certain signals that key men into the fact that women are interested in them. I think playing with your hair is one. A gentle tap of the shoulder is another. I should have expected Rumple to spout some sort of nonsense. Princess? The customer's been waiting for a while now. Is something wrong? I noticed the customer looking at me expectantly. He's just some man, a usual customer that I actually see often. Oh, and Princess, don't forget the compliments. Make them as delicate and illustrative as you can. I move away from Rumple before he can muddle my thoughts any further. Already my feet feel like lead. I find myself staring at the man for far too long. The way he stares back at me, his expression is unreadable. I find myself staring at the man for far too long. The way he stares back at me, his expression so unreadable, suddenly makes me feel more uncomfortable. Do I really have to do what Rumple says? I stop in front of the man and set down his tray, my eyes still on his. I do not have to follow Rumple's advice, but for some reason my lips quirt. The smile on my lips, though, lasts all of a half a second. Are you okay? Let's do this. Let's attempt to flirt. I can feel Rumple smiling at my back. If this were anyone else but him, I would think it was some kind of prank. But considering this is the way Rumple acts all the time, maybe he's actually trying to help me. I try to recall how he flirted with his customers before. I could not help but notice you were alone, sir. I'm always alone. My heart is thumping far too loudly in my chest. What kind of things does Rumple usually say? Madame, you are the most beautiful thief I have ever met, for it is you who has stolen my heart and stolen my gaze. Your eyes are more captivating than the stars, my sweet. If I could, I would stare into them forever and lose myself in their majesty. You remind me of a rose with thorns, but the thorns are what makes those roses so alluring. Only does this about complimentary gibberish. I'll try to do the same. How is it that you would always be alone when you have such lovely eyes? The customer stares at me, baffled. I force myself to continue. Your eyes remind me of the leaves in fall as they flutter beneath the bright gaze of the sun, and I stop. The words, nothing more than a shallow lie, make me feel strangely hollow. The man is just staring at me, but he looks uncomfortable. Still, I do not think he's anywhere near as uncomfortable as I am. Ma'am, perhaps you would... My voice trails off. I bite my lip so hard I can taste something metallic. The man's expression is a mixture of awe and perplexity. I immediately turn away from him and walk off. My whole face is hot, and I can feel anger boiling deep down inside of me. Princess, leave me alone. Princess, we're not done. I do not care. Well, that failed miserably. I ignore everyone's gazes as I make my way as quickly as I possibly can upstairs into my room. There, I collapse on my bed and lay there with my arms outstretched. Why would I have ever even thought of taking Rumple's advice? Hours go by, and eventually I realize that it is time to help Anais with the night chores. Now I'm helping her restock some of the bottles that Waltz and Karma brought back from town. I hope Anais does not mention what happened earlier today. I slip out of bed and head down to the main area of the tavern. The room is mostly quiet by this time. By the time I go downstairs, Parfait and Delora are talking to each other at the table. Karma passes by me as I walk downstairs. He looks exhausted and oddly frustrated. He was talking with his love Rumple. His frenemy? Frenemy. I think they're gonna be best friends one day. I make my way over to Anais, who is already putting bottles on the shelves. Well, Princess, are you okay now? I'm fine. Now, what did you need me to do? Anais explains how restocking works. She shows me the labels on the shelves and explains that the empty spots are where the new bottles go. It's not a hard job, and one I can easily do without thinking too hard. For a while, the only sound that can be heard in the Marken are the bottles clinking against each other. Underneath that is the murmuring between Parfait and Delora. I have no idea what they are talking about, but they look serious, so it must be something important. So Princess, can I ask what life was like at the palace? Right, she cannot remember working at the palace before. I don't mean to pry. I was just trying to make conversation. I would rather not. Oh, okay. Eventually, Parfait and Delora stand from their seat and move to another room to continue their conversation. Anais breaks the silence again. The tavern is nice when it's quiet like this, isn't it? You can hear the sounds outside if you open a window. My hands move stiffly, placing bottles on shelves by label, and all I want to do is get the work done and then return to my room. It was like this at the old place that I used to work. I was hired by a rich family to be their maid. Your mansion was a beautiful place, and I could hear the crickets if you were... And you could hear the crickets if you were by the window on the bottom floor. Seems like her memory has been twisted by my curse, so she cannot remember working at the palace. All she remembers is working for a rich family. It was a nice place, Princess. There was a girl close to my age that had a radiant smile. Radiant smile? She must be talking about Emmeline. The head of the mansion is really a kind man, and... She grew suddenly quiet, a look of confusion coming to her face. She paused and then shakes her head. I can't seem to remember anyone that was there, but I'm pretty sure they were all good people. At least, I'd like to think so. I was just a bad maid. She was. Because of her, Dolores' dress was torn. I was too ashamed to tell anyone of the mistress. I was too ashamed to tell one of the mistresses that I couldn't save her doll. Save her doll? Anais looks down, her smile wistful. I was fired on my first day because I couldn't save one of the mistress's dolls. I was the one cleaning her shelves that day, and when I went, I saw a crow had come in through the open window and was pecking at one of the dolls. I shooed it away, but it was too late. The doll had a little rip on the dress, and I was fired for not doing my job properly. So it wasn't Anais who ripped Dolores' dress, but a bird? Is that why Dolores insisted Anais deserves an apology? What happened after you were fired? Lady Parfait found me on the streets. I couldn't go back to my aunt's house, not after what happened. She never liked me anyway. Anais's face clouds briefly with sorrow, but the expression is short-lived. I can never forget the day I met Lady Parfait. I told her I would be able to help her and anyone else that got sick. That I can even do all the cooking since I've been making meals for my father since I was a young girl. I begged her to take me in, and she did. I owe Lady Parfait a lot. Why didn't you go back to your father after you were fired? My father passed away a while ago. My mother died giving birth to me. My father was an herbalist, and he taught me a lot while he was still with me. So, before Rumpel came in, I helped Lady Parfait with herbal remedies. So you have no one. That's what I thought, but now I have everyone here. The Marken is my family now. Family. Princess, we're all happy to have you here too. You really help out on the Marken, and I can tell Rumpel is happy to have you as well, or as a partner. The memory of what happened today slowly seeps back into my mind. I cannot help the irritation bubbling inside of me. I know he's a little overwhelming, but I'm pretty sure Rumpel is really trying to help you, just like he's helping Lady Parfait. It is not the same thing at all. The two of us continue working until Anais makes another wistful comment. The place I worked before this... It felt like there was a warmth in that gigantic home, but it was stifled. That place isn't warm at all. I speak the words without even meaning to. Anais looks up at me curiously. The king suddenly started speaking to me when Mother died, but it was never enough. Before that, he was cold and distant, and even now, he favors his new wife and children over me. There were people, but they all wore fake smiles, and my father was the worst of all. I may as well have never existed to him. Princess, I'm sorry. For what? You're talking about the palace, right? The king always seemed so nice. He put his kingdom before his children, and I fidgets nervously. I'm sorry. Apologies are not going to change the past. Sometimes apologizing seems like all you can do when we can't change something that's already happened. I think about Anais, who tried to save my doll, and the way I fired her that day. Rumple told me once that all I had to do was listen to people to sympathize with them. Could that also be true for finding out the truth? All I can do is make up for what I have done to her. Of course I'm going to apologize. Why would I not apologize? Poor Anais, I'm so sorry. I am sorry. Anais looks at me, clearly shocked as she stares for a few moments before I scowl at her. Staring is rude. Oh, I was just... Why are you apologizing to me, Princess? It is for something that I did that you would not remember. That I wouldn't remember? You should tell me. I promise I wouldn't hold it against you. It is not important. Anais's eyes are suddenly downcast, and no matter the attempt, her smile isn't as bright as it once was. I quickly finish stacking the bottles on the shelves. I am done. Anais turns to look at me with an unusually tired expression on her face. Blah. Anais turns to look at me with an unusually tired expression on her face. Thank you for listening to me, Princess, and for telling me a little bit about yourself, too. I feel like I might have said too much. I do not respond to Anais, but instead choose to head out the front door. Anais asks where I'm going, but I just ignore her. I think about heading to town, but then I reconsider. I decide to head to the forest instead. Oh, pretty. I make my way to the forest clearing. In the dark, everything feels a lot more comfortable. Here, I did not have to pretend to listen to anyone. I did not have to talk about myself. I settle down on a rock and stare up at the sky. I apologized, but Anais did not even understand my apology. And even now, I still cannot bring myself to trust those at the Marken. I sigh and find myself speaking aloud. Maybe I am the Ice Princess. But have you seen the beautiful sculptures that can be made from Ice Princess? I turn to see Rumple walking towards me, a broad grin on his face. Ice always sparkles in the sun. It glistens and stands so proudly where it's been sculpted. I stare at Rumple blankly. He sighs and shakes his head. I'm sorry. That one was particularly bad, wasn't it? He sits down beside me, and his grin falters a little bit. I have no white lilies to give you this time, my sweet princess, but I will offer anything else you would need for me to apologize. Blah. I have no white lilies to give you this time, my sweet princess, but I will offer anything else you would need for me to apologize for my advice earlier today. I can offer anything, my words, my body. I cut Rumple off as I am not in the mood for his usual behavior. You are always like this. All you ever do is flirt. Any meaningful things you try to say is lost in the flattery you constantly give to people. It is shallow. You're right. What? I stare at him. Rumple is smiling, but it's not the same confident grin he wore earlier. Somewhere deep in my memories, I remember someone telling me off just like this. Many people enjoy flattery, Princess, and a lot of people are receptive to flirting, but nothing can measure up to a genuine compliment. But I stand by what I said before, that making a person happy is a good deed. Look, I'll show you. Rumple shifts so that he's looking right at me, and I notice that his smile is gone. Kindoli, of all the women I have met, you are the most straightforward and honest. Many do not have the courage or confidence to exhibit those qualities. And that is why I admire you, and I will always take your word to heart, because I know you will always speak the truth. I look into Rumple's eyes, which still have a gentle shimmer despite the darkness. For a few moments, his words float around in my head. No one has ever called my bluntness honesty before, and no one has ever complimented me for it. Rumple told me before that I deserve to be spoiled. Maybe it's because he sees something I do not. Maybe it's because he sees the things I do in a more positive light. My, you're struck speechless by that, aren't you? You look cute with your cheeks so rosy, my sweet princess. I glare at him, and Rumple just laughs in response. I put my hand to my cheek, suddenly self-conscious. Rumple smiles at me, but it's not the usual playful smile. Right now, he almost looks serious. Did he mean what he said? I could tell him off, or I could ask him if he actually meant it. Let's try to be nice. We're trying to be good people here, so break the curse. Did you really mean that compliment? Of course I did. I told you, right? Making a person happy is a good deed. I wanted to show you that. Rumpel's compliments do make people happy, even if I do find his words to be very shallow, but that felt different. Flattery is wonderful, but it usually only concerns complimenting a woman's physical appearance. Though I do that really well, don't I? Earlier, I bet you made Anais happy too. You were spying on our conversation. I would never. I just happened to be making my way down the stairs very slowly. You don't even know what I was apologizing for. No, but you thought you had to after you listened to her, don't you? Didn't you? I listen far more than you do. Princess, you've shattered my heart so many times, there are permanent cracks. But do not worry, the cracks in my heart allow me even more of you to make your way into it. Rumpel awkwardly laughs when I remain silent. Anyway, there are different kinds of listening, Princess. Listening to sympathize is one kind. Trying to put yourself in someone's shoes, trying to understand them, that is one of those ways. Then there is the kind of listening that is shallow. One pretends to listen without ever letting the words into their heart. Words are fickle things. Mother always told me that people lie, and they would say whatever benefited them. It was foolish to trust words. What if Anais had been lying to me? Why would I put so much blind faith in people? Because more often than not, people are good, Princess. I let out an exasperated sigh. Sometimes I cannot tell if I'm angry or confused by Rumpel. Ah, what a beautiful sound! It was as if the sweet wind itself was gently tickling my ear. I slide away from him and scowl. Your scowl is adorable too, and you have such delicate lips. Right. I'm still convinced that his earlier compliment was just a lie. How can he say something genuine and slide right back into his pitiful flattery? For a moment, silence falls, and I find myself surprised that it's not awkward being alone with Rumpel. Will you accept my apology for earlier? I promise I'll never try to get you to flirt with anyone ever again. Besides, if you flirted with another man and grew fond of him, I would be devastated. That would never happen. You didn't let me finish. I was going to say that I'd be devastated because that would mean that your heart would belong to someone else, and my heart belongs to no one. I will steal it like a thief in the night. That will also never happen. If not that, then I'll settle for making you smile, at least once, because I'm sure you would shine as brightly as the sun if you smiled. You're unreasonably persistent. Love is a persistent endeavor, Princess. A man in love stops at nothing to win over the woman that he so adores. And you must be in love with many women. I stand up. I'd appreciate if you just I would appreciate you just complimenting me when you mean it. But Princess, I mean every word of my compliments. I have no energy to chastise him right now, but at least I no longer have the anger inside from earlier. It's been a long day, and I'm going to bed. Would you like company? I didn't mean... Good night, Rumpel. Good night, Princess Kendali. I make my way back to the tavern, feeling surprisingly light. Still, even if Rumpel's words might make me happier than I care to admit, he's not doing a very good job of helping me with my curse. I might have to do this on my own after all. Chapter 5, The Doctor, and we're going to leave it off here, I think. Rumpel's so great, I'm loving Rumpel, and Rumpel and Karma's relationship is awesome. Can't get enough of it. I want to see more interaction between them. I want them to become friends, because I love both their characters so much. They're so dramatic, and they clash so awesomely. It's perfect, they need to be friends. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you join me for the next video. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.